back to the channel, Bookworms. Thank you so much for joining me today. I will be telling you all about the books that I need to read before the end of the year. These are all the books that I need to read before the end of the year. No particular reason why I need to read them before the end of the year. It's more a case of some of these have been sat in my collection for a long time and I had planned some content around them and I just haven't got around to doing it yet. So I want to tell you the books I need to read before the end of the year so I have some accountability, and hopefully when I come back to this video in January or something I can see if I've ticked any of them off. So the first one is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I've never read from this author before. This kind of, well, I bought it in a charity shop for 99p and I had thought that I was going to read books made popular by TikTok, and then I realised that I'm not that interested in contemporary books, so I picked it up and it's been sat in my cupboard for ages. So I need to read it so I can get rid of it. I'm not hopeful that I'm going to enjoy this. People rant and rave about this book, so I am hoping that it's decent and I can get through it. It's not that long. It's a standard 300 and odd page book that I'm hoping is fast paced and I can get through it pretty quickly. So this is the first one I need to read before the end of the year. Next up we have a classic, and that is Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. So I had this thing where I was obsessed with reading classics, books that I had missed out on when I stopped reading for a period of time. When I went into my GCSEs, A-levels, and then my degree, I stopped reading for fun. I used to love reading and books made me happy. So at that point I fell out of love with reading because I had to read all the time for my studies. And they weren't that fun. A lot of them were policies and 400-page essays. Well, anyway. And now I'm back into it and I feel like I've missed a lot of books. And that was the case with classics. I went through a stage of reading as many classics as I possibly could, just to say that I've read them. And Crime and Punishment was one of those. And that was a struggle to get through. I tell you, that was a long book. But I wanted then to pick up another long book. Found this in a charity shop as well, so this was only £2 for me, and it's in decent condition. Like, I really love how nice and neat this is. I'm not sure it's going to tell me when it's published. Oh, so this is from the 90s, so pretty decent quality, and I've been talking about Anna Karenina for a while, wanting to read this book, so I am definitely getting around to picking this up, hopefully by the end of the year. The next book is something that my boyfriend wanted me to read, and to be fair, I have put it off because I'm not that interested in this book. But we had this thing where I didn't enjoy the Lord of the Rings movies when I watched them when I was younger, and I decided to pick up the books in my adult life. So I read the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy and the Hobbit book. And these are some of my favourite fantasy books that I've ever read. They're so good. I rewatched the movies with him and then kind of affirmed that I did enjoy these stories, but the books are definitely better. And he then challenged me to pick up some books that are from TV shows and movies that he enjoys that I don't typically enjoy. So I watched Game of Thrones as a challenge, but my boyfriend really enjoyed watching those TV shows and then challenged me to read the book. And unfortunately I found it in a charity shop, which meant that I had to add it to my collection of physical books and read it, but it's been sat here for almost 2 years and I haven't picked it up. And this is another really long book. I'm glad though that there's audio. I saved the audio for this on Scribd like a year ago and it's still there. It's 33 hours on there, so I can probably read it in 15 because I do read at 2 times speed, sometimes 2.5 times speed. But I'm just not looking forward to this, and I'm putting it on the internet that I will read this book by the end of 2023, and I can stop him pestering me, and I can finally say that I do not enjoy this series. I'm not starting it as a series. It's a standalone for me. I know this for a fact. I will not enjoy this book. So if I do end up reading this, you're definitely going to see a vlog because I'm going to have a lot of opinions and thoughts on this. And you never know, it could be a DNF. But Game of Thrones is on there. The next book on this list is The Coven. So this was a Christmas gift from last year, and I just haven't read it yet. I wanted to do a video with witchy based book titles, but I haven't gotten around to it yet. This was one book that I was saving for that, so you never know. I could end up reading this by the end of the year, and you might see that video at some point. I'm hoping that this is kind of like the year of the witching, where it's about witches, but then also feminism is included in this story, because I really love the year of the witching, and I'm so excited for her new book, but it hasn't been announced yet when exactly it's coming out. So this is going to be my fix until then. Next up, we have Notes on an Execution. So this book I saw on BookTube, and I thought that it sounded incredible and people were loving it and enjoying the storyline. So I thought I would pick it up as well when it came out in paperback in the UK. And this cover, I didn't enjoy when I first saw that the UK cover would be like this. The American is purple with handcuffs on the front, and it's purple and black, which is lovely. But we get this yellow fox one. I'm hoping it has some context, that it's not just a random fox, but I'm looking forward to reading this. I feel like this is going to be straight up my street. I love true crime and stories that are told from the unexpected perspective. So this is a story that is told through the eyes of the victims of somebody on death row. And that's all I'm going to say. That premise alone stood out for me, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So I bought it recently, so I'm wanting to get to this before the end of the year. Next up, we have another book that I found on BookTube that everybody was loving, and that is Under the Whispering Door. This book is a story about grief, and I kind of put it off for a little while because I was dealing with grief recently when my uncle passed away unexpectedly. So I didn't want to pick this up, but I feel like I need to read it before the end of the year, and I would hopefully really enjoy this. It sounds so cute and heart-wrenching, and I hope that I really enjoy this. Next up, you'll probably notice that this is going to be for that same video that I spoke about with Coven. This is Waking the Witch, and this again I picked up because it was witchy based and I wanted something else to read for that video, and I found this in a charity shop for 99p, and I haven't got around to reading it yet, so hopefully I can get to this before the end of the year. Next up we have At Midnight, and this is a collection of retold fairy tales, and this one was kindly sent to me by Titan, and it was published. When was it published? So this book published in February this year, and I was kindly sent it around that time, and I completely just didn't get around to it in time. So I'm really hoping that I can read it soon so I can get my review out on this and tell you all about these fantasy stories. And I'm really excited actually because I really love retelling of fairy tales. So I'm looking forward to this. Next up, we have a more recent purchase for me, and that is Hide. Not many people like this story. I've seen people talk about this not so nicely, so I wanted to check it out for myself. I finally found it in Waterstones, in paperback form. I love paperback books. I don't know what it is, I just prefer paperbacks. So I'm really looking forward to reading this. Next up is a murder mystery series that I've been wanting to read for a while, since this author had published them, but I was waiting until the right time. I mean, when is it the right time? But this is The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. So this, I think 4 books have been published now, and I found this in a charity shop and knew that it was about time that I picked it up, but I haven't actually read it yet. I'm hoping that I can get to it before the end of the year. Ideally, I would like to have the second and the third book in this series in paperback form before I start reading it, but who knows if I'm going to find those in charity shops. But I did pick up this one, and hopefully I can read it before then, which is why it's on this list. Next up, we have another new release, and that is Girls of Little Hope. And this one, again, was kindly sent to me by Titan. This one's more recent, as it was published in June of this year, and I really want to get around to reading this. I'd ideally love to do a video solely for this book. So who knows, hopefully I can get to this pretty quickly. Next up, we have the Southern Book Club Guide to Slaying Vampires. This is going to be the last Grady Hendrix book that I need to read, so I immediately picked it up from Waterstones when I saw that it was there, and hopefully that means I will finish his backlist, and I'm super excited to read this. And finally, the last book I want to tell you about is another new release, and that is episode 13. This one was released in January, and it's one of the books that is on my anticipated releases. So hopefully I can get to this before the end of the year and tell you all about it. So these are all the books that I want to read before the end of the year, and I am super hopeful that I will read at least half of them, but I guess we shall see. So do stick around if you would like to find out if I can tackle this massive TBR for the rest of the year. Thank you so much for watching and sticking to the end. Let me know in the comments what books you still need to read for the rest of the year. And until the next time I talk to you, keep those pages turning and embrace the darkness. Bye!